Well, this morning I am delighted to have a very special guest in the studio with us today, dealing with a subject that I have become very concerned about, listening and caring. And we are delighted to have with us today Dr. John Savage. He's going to be special speaker for the next 3 days, and we'll give you the details on him, where he's going to be speaking, but you'll be dealing with the subject of listening and caring. And you are a PhD in psychotherapy?
I have a doctorate in ministry in psychotherapy.
Really?
And it's not a PhD, it's a D-Min.
D-Min.
Doctor in ministry.
I need to just probably hop on your couch and have you psychoanalyze me.
Well, I could do a bit of that, but I just as soon just listen to your story, because that's what we teach. How to listen to another person and the experiences of their life.
Wow.
What's happened to them.
You know, I said earlier, Dr. Savage, before we went out of the news and into this segment, I said earlier, one of the products of today's culture with phones and iPads and all this stuff, it speeded everything up, and we don't have any patience anymore. We can't even finish a sentence without being interrupted.
Actually, there's a little piece of research on that. The average person goes to speak and the other person breaks in approximately 17 seconds.
And the news media is propagating this by how they handle interviews. Have you know? They think that bickering and talking over one another somehow is good news. I don't get it.
Yeah. What's your experience about why you think that's happening? And then I'd like to share too. What do you think has happened in our culture that allows poor listening to take place, particularly now in these days?
Well, that's a big question. I'm not the doctor. I haven't got the PhD, but
but I just want you. But you're in the communication business. I'm just curious your own personal perspective on it.
I think what happens is, and we do track this on what we call generational science and neuromarketing, and what we find out is that whatever you start the subject, in the person's mind, they begin to track, and their own thoughts come in. You could be talking, you fade away. Their thoughts come in, and they don't care where you are in the sentence in the conversation, but now they got to express it.
Yeah, right.
Am I right or wrong?
You are absolutely right. We call that phenomenon counter-story reaction. Let me explain what that is. In story listening, which is one of the major skills I'll be teaching in the next 3 days, to listen to your story, when you tell me a story of a car accident that you have, I remember the car accidents I have.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And one of the things that we teach, for example, is how to visit a person in a hospital, how to listen to a person that's in pain or upset. Okay. And what happens is that the worst case scenario.
Oh no.
And I actually saw this happen. I walked in to see a friend, and another friend of his was there. Excuse me, it was a woman. Another friend came in to see her. And while I am there, she said, well, if you think you're sick, you ought to hear about what happened to me. And then she it's called up the ante, tells a story and it just shut her down, right. Shut the other person down. And that's one of the things that happens in counter-story. The good thing, there's both the downside and the good side of counter-story. If I tell a story and something kicks up in you, don't suppress it. Let it come to you as information about me.
Boy, that is so key, because what you're saying is the problem, especially when you're dealing with health issues. You know, well, I had an appendix attack. Well, that's nothing, man. I just
That's right.
And then the whole conversation gets derailed. And empathy and care fall right through the floor.
So paying attention to that, and what's your hunch of why it goes down through the floor? What do you think takes place in that?
I'm more important than you.
Yeah.
You know,
or my story is. Huh?
Yeah. Is that true or not?
Well, yeah. It's fighting for, to use your language here in the studio, airtime.
Yeah.
And to be able to stay present with the other person and not tell your story back yet, but to listen for 20 or 30 minutes and not have to do counter storytelling is a really key issue of how to listen. We teach 11 listening skills in our full-length lab that we do, okay?
Wow.
I'm going to be working with 5 or 6 on this weekend,
Okay.
right? And if you will integrate those skills, you'll change your behavior forever.
Whoa.
Okay? They are very, very powerful. Story listening, for example, is listening to the unconscious. Perry, you cannot not tell your story. If I listened to you for 10 or 15 minutes, I would know an awful lot about you, because you'll do 2 things in storytelling. Your language will have themes in it. A theme is a word or phrase that you keep repeating over and over again. Okay?
Really?
Storytelling is the unconscious speaking. So if I want to know what's really going on in you, I'm going to listen to the stories you tell me. And they will contain themes, and they will contain metaphors, an image, a place, or a thing that keeps repeating itself.
I'm afraid to talk.
No. Oh, well, you just told me a story. Okay. Coming out in the plane, I live in a suburb town of Columbus, Ohio. And on the way out, we changed planes in Denver. Okay. But from Columbus to Denver, I sat next to a young businessman who has just started his business about 2 months ago. He was a superb communicator because he did something that probably less than 1% of the population knows how to do intuitively, and that's how to dialogue with another person. And dialogue consists of, I ask you a question, you answer it, and then you basically ask me the same question back.
Oh.
Want to try it for a minute?
Sure.
Okay. I was a pastor for 26 years in upstate New York. And I left parish ministry and started my own company. What did you do before you did TV?
Well, I was an associate pastor for several years and the business manager of a fairly large church that got into financial trouble. And I helped that church move from the edge of bankruptcy back to solvency. And then the Lord called me into Christian broadcasting. Is there any similarities between the two of us?
Yeah. I stayed in parish ministry for 26 years, and the Lord called me. Matter of fact, I'd like to tell that story just a moment. I was doing training in listening skills. I already had helped another friend of mine help me produce the training event. I am doing it for a group of people at a youth camp. I walk out one evening and say, God, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. Do you want me to stay in the parish? I feel being pulled to do something bigger than just that. Not that that isn't important. And this voice, I've been able to hear God's voice for a very long time. And God's voice said to me, John, I'm not going to tell you what to do anymore. I'll tell you what. You decide what you want to do for me.
Wow.
That will be my will for you.
Wow.
Now that's a shift. and I struggled then, and finally I did, and it worked out beautifully. I mean,
Wow.
I've been doing this now for nearly 35 years.
All right, let me just, if I can interrupt you
Come
because
on.
of the sake of time, I want to get in here. You're going to be speaking tonight from 6 to 9, tomorrow night from 6 to 9, and Saturday, a big day for you, 9 to 9. And there is a cost. It includes lunch and dinner. And this is being sponsored by the Trinity Presbyterian Church, Living Water Counseling there, Trinity Presbyterian Church. And let me just say to our viewers and listeners, call the church if you want to attend, 840-1924, 840-1924, and get into this seminar and learn how to listen and care.
Right.
Now, you're saying you're going to be dealing with basically 6 of these skills.
Yeah.
And you're saying that one of the skills you look for is when you're dialoguing, there's a theme in there.
Right.
Now, one of the things that I have noticed when I dialogue with people is the theme is usually me, I, myself. Is that a problem? Is that narcissism, or
Well,
is
it depends if the theme is me. It's usually my experience. What I'm after, Barry, is how is it possible to have a person understand what they're experiencing in their life? Mm-hmm. Most people don't experience their experience. They don't feel their feelings. They don't think their thoughts. They move away from it. They avoid it. Mm-hmm. For example, if you have a disturbing experience, something that makes you sad, okay, you backed out of your driveway and ran over your family's pet dog, mm-hmm. okay, mm-hmm. you're going to feel bad. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, people don't experience the experience deep enough to have it infiltrate or to affect them in a positive way. They avoid it, then the pain gets submerged, and then we produce a thing that we listen for. It's the key thing we listen for in a person's experience, and that is the clusters of things that happen to you never dealt with.
This is so big.
Okay.
We're out of time, but let me do this. Do you have Skype?
Oh yeah, I'm Skype.
Okay, we ought to Skype in and do all 6 points sometime. A point each week or something like that.
I've been on Skype with you about 3 weeks ago for a half hour.
Yeah, I know that, and I want to do that some more, because what's interesting about this, as I said earlier, Dr. Savage, we don't have any patience. We've run out of patience.
That's right.
And it's become rude. A topic can be sidetracked 4 or 5 times before you get back on it again.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially if you're in a group of people.
That's true. And it's called what? It's all over the place, and there's no focus for it for that in the group.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Again, let me just say to our listeners, call the church, 840-1924. That's Living Water Counseling, excuse me. And he'll be speaking tonight, 6 to 9, Friday, 6 to 9, and then all day Saturday. And if you are in any form of ministry or management, you need to take this seminar. Give them a call. Thank you, Dr. Savage.
Thank you. Thank you very much.